For more on this game and some other college picks you want to keep an eye on, let's now welcome in college football wagering analyst Jon Berger. JB, good to see you. Okay,
Good to see you, man. I'm loving the tie. Is this like the Penn State whiteout thing you got going, or what is the deal, man?
I have no allegiance to anything, but trying to be fashionable like you.
All right. Loving it, man. Loving it. What do we got?
All right, let's start with this big game. Number 1, Georgia taking on Florida. You just heard the hype piece. You heard the betting numbers. The last time either of these teams was ranked number 1 heading into this series, you got to go to 2009. Florida beat unranked Georgia 41-14. It was in the piece. So when you look at the numbers, when you look at the form of the two teams, what's your play here?
Jeremy, I don't break trend a lot. I'm not going to do it today. Anytime in these rivalry games, I mean, you know the deal. You can study them as much as you want to, but a lot of times, you know, the season-long trends do get broken. So you got to be smart in this situation. This is going to be a very physical game. It's going to get chippy. These teams don't like each other. It's a little odd that Florida rolls up in this deal 4-3. It's also a little odd, and I can't remember a time as I looked at this game, you know, you could see 4 quarterbacks, two different quarterbacks on each side. So it's a little odd that way. I'm really anchoring to a couple of different things. Number one, on the Florida side of the ball, their run defense got gashed by LSU. I actually lost money on that game. I took Florida to cover those points. I think at the time it was 10, and obviously they didn't because they got gashed on the defensive side of the ball. That's really all I need to know in terms of their side. And you flip over and you look at Georgia, they're going to be one of the top defenses, if not the number 1 defense the entire season. I don't see Florida scoring a bunch of points. Georgia's got better special teams. Offensively, I don't think they have to have a massive output, but because of that rivalry nature and because of what I just said, I think this game screams take the under. If you absolutely are a fan and you have to lay down the points either on the Georgia or Florida side, I would probably anchor to taking Florida plus 14, but I wouldn't touch that bet. I'm not touching it personally. I just think when you add all this up and you look at the trend lines, you look at the defense for Georgia, and you look what happened to Florida on the defensive side of the ball against LSU when they were trying to defend the run, I think the safe bet here is to take the under, Jeremy.
Georgia's won 6 of the last 10 meetings, but when it comes to rivalry games, I mean, sometimes you just throw form out the window, and that's when you start to get upsets happening, but certainly good advice there, Jon, in terms of how to approach this game. Okay, big game in Auburn this weekend as the Tigers welcome Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss. The hosts favored by 3 points with the over-under set at 66. That is a healthy number. Are you chasing the total here, Jon, with the line so close?
I am not chasing it. Look, basically what Vegas is telling you is this is a flip-em game. Auburn at home at 2.5. This is a toss-up. So in that situation in the SEC, I don't have a great track record when the spread's that tight. But I do look at this over/under number at 66. I don't like it. I'm going to take the under in this situation. That's a lot of points in an SEC game, especially with both defenses. I love what Ole Miss is doing on the offensive side of the ball. Lane Kiffin's going to call an aggressive game plan. Love what Matt Corral brings you in terms of both his athleticism, his ability to create, his ability to get the football downfield. A lot of people around the country, if you don't follow Ole Miss, you ought to tune into this game. Very entertaining offense. They got a great ability to run the football. This is a team that can explode on you running the ball. They could get up there in the 150 to 200 yards area. But I think Auburn, you look at their front seven, they're very stout. And when you look at Bo Nix at the quarterback position, this is one of those games. The reason I'm taking the under is I just don't know that I'm willing to take that over with Bo Nix. There's times, Jeremy, when I look at Bo Nix play football and I'm amazed at what this guy does on the field, his decision making, his accuracy with the football, and then a game or two later, I'm kind of scratching my head. When I look at this now, I roll it all up. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. You're going to love the offense from Ole Miss. Stout 7 on the Auburn side of the ball. I think when you wind all that up, smart bets take the under. That's what I'm going to do.
And Matt Corral must-see TV in terms of Ole Miss. But as you said, Jon, the inconsistency with Bo Nix. But watch them go out there and just light it up and go over the total on you, just to make you feel bad. All right, the battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy, not to be confused with the Paul Bunyan Axe. That's a different rivalry. This week it goes between Michigan and Michigan State for the trophy. The last time each were ranked for this meeting, you got to go back to 1964. Number 7 Michigan beat number 9 Michigan State 17-10. Wolverines laying 4 on the road here with the total at 50. Where's the value for you, Jon?
I'm going to take Michigan to cover, and I'm going to take the under in this game. Look, Jeremy, this is going to be, kind of a traditional Big Ten battle. These teams hate each other. It's going to get chippy, rivalry game. It's going to be very aggressive. Don't expect an explosive first quarter. This is going to be a defensive struggle. I look at Michigan State, and I'm buying this team, and I really kind of got into this team and started believing in them when they went down into Miami. I don't know if you remember when they played Miami down in Florida, but it was about 900 degrees that day, 3,000% humidity. Michigan State in that game had every opportunity to fold, and they didn't. So this team's got some backbone. They got some character. They got some leadership. That said, Jim Harbaugh and this Michigan team love what they're doing offensively, like what they're doing defensively. They're making bigger plays. They're sounder on special teams. I just think when you wind this up and you look at it, I'm confident that they can cover these points, but I'm also confident this is going to be a defensive struggle. I'm going to take the under in this game. I think it'll be a traditional Big Ten battle, but I think that's the safest bet right here.
Wait a minute, John. That's 3 games to the under. Are you're not liking the totals this week?
Just all I'm saying is just follow me on this one, Jeremy. And when you got totals like this, especially with Michigan State, and the Ole Miss, defenses are going to show up in these rivalry games. These guys play with a little bit of extra energy, edge, and attitude. And I'm just saying that shows up in the scores.
Okay, well, let's talk about another Big Ten side, Ohio State. They've won 4 straight meetings with Penn State as they get set to meet in Columbus. The Buckeyes haven't lost at home to Penn State in a decade, favored by over 2 scores here. Now, I'll ask you again, John, are you good with the line, or are you moving more towards the total of the 60 points? I think I know the answer here, but I'm going to ask you anyways.
I'm going to make 2 bets on this one. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to stay check the box on that one, Jeremy,
what
but
a
not
shock.
to bore the fans. In this situation, I'm also going to make a second bet, take 18 and take Penn State and the point. That's a lot of points. When I look at Penn State and I look at that overtime game, thank God it finally ended after about 9 hours. I understand that they lost to Illinois. I understand that the offense for Ohio State is really clicking on all cylinders right now. They're running like a V8. Stroud's having a good year. I think the difference for me is that I think Penn State can create some clutter in the pocket. For the most part, Stroud, the quarterback for Ohio State, has played in a pretty clean pocket. I don't think Penn State's going to have a great deal of success getting to him and sacking him a lot, but I do think they can create some clutter, which is going to put him on the move. And when I think about that, I just don't like the size of the number. Obviously, Ohio State wins the game. I don't like the size of the number. I think it's going to hit the under, but in that situation, I would take Penn State in the points.
It's going to be interesting to see how Penn State does come out after that overtime loss last week. Not only a long game, but also a tough loss. So we're going to see if James Franklin can get those guys bouncing back. Yeah.
That was not fun in practice this week.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. So, okay, let's go to Texas Tech. 19.5-point underdogs. Here's another big number for you as they go to number 4, Oklahoma. Sooners, though, they've won 22 of the previous 28 meetings, including 9 straight, 2 straight where they've scored more than 34 points. I mean, John, here's another big number. We're at 66.5. Sonny Cumbie making his debut as head coach of the Red Raiders. Where are you finding value?
Taking the over in this one, Jeremy. I know you're shocked considering we just took about 15 of those on the under. Here's the situation. First of all, I think the dumbest decision made in the last 5 years in college football, at least one of them, why did they ever get rid of Mike Leach? They've gone through a series of coaches here now. I don't understand the situation in terms of firing your head coach mid-season. I don't really get that. I don't know what the point of that is. I understand they were 2 of 16 on 3rd down, lost to Kansas State, not trending in the right direction. I just don't like if you're a player sitting there in the locker room having to deal with a mid-year coaching change. That's not to say Sonny Cumbie's not the right guy. I knew him, tracked him as an assistant. I think he's going to do great, but I don't like that decision. That said, when you look at this game, again, that's a huge number, 20 points. I love what, obviously, Oklahoma's doing on the offensive side of the ball at the quarterback position. I just think there's going to be a lot of scoring. I'm going to take the over. If you have to bet the spread, I would take Tech and the 20. That's just a ton of points. But I do think a lot of points are going to be scored. Take the over here.
And some connection between Cumbie and Lincoln Riley here. Cumbie was a graduate assistant when Lincoln Riley took over as the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech after Leach was fired. So there is a little bit of synergy. Lastly, John, number 16, Baylor welcomes Texas as they look to move to 7-1 on the season. The Bears slight favorites here. The over-under in that 60-point range, which is what we've been looking at. Do you take the Bears here, or are you staying away?
I'm going to this one, I kind of threw the numbers out the window. The safe thing at home is to take Baylor. But again, Vegas is indexing this like it's a flipping game. I think this is a situation, and where I'm going with this is I think Texas is prepared to have that breakout game. Understand they gave up big leads. You think back to that Oklahoma game, it was 28-7. I was ready to pack it up and head home. Oklahoma battles back, wins that game in a rivalry game. That's a pretty tough thing, Jeremy, to deal with when you're sitting in that locker room. And then Texas follows it up with an Oklahoma State loss. All the respect in the world for what's being accomplished at Baylor. I just think Texas, if you're in that locker room, you're ready to break out and you're ready to break free. I think it happens here. I would line up and I would run Robinson right at that Baylor defense. I'd give the football to him 25 or 30 times, try to get physical with him. I think that's what you're going to see happen. A lot of people are challenging that Texas defense and what's going on there. I'm just kind of going against the trend. I'm going to take Texas and those points, and I'm going to take the over in this situation.
Texas has won 5 of the last 6 games in the series, John, so obviously playing the trend. I like the pick. He is CBS Sports college football wagering analyst Jon Berger giving us those Week 9 picks. John, good to see you, and we'll see you again next week. Let's quickly recap John's picks. He likes the under of 51. He says stay away from that total. Georgia versus Florida. Ole Miss at Auburn, another one where he likes the under. John liking a lot of the unders this week. He thinks those totals are just a little too high against some teams that know how to play some decent defense. He likes the under 50 in the battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy between Michigan and Michigan State. Take the under and Penn State plus the points as Penn State takes on Ohio State in Columbus. And then he did go with a couple overs. Take the over for Oklahoma, Texas Tech. Take the over Baylor hosting Texas.